I think you were born an entrepreneur. I think it's in your blood. It's a certain type of person, and most people are not that person because you have to be able to take the bruises, to take the hits. I grew up dirt poor. I was at the time what they call bused to a school that was probably one of the wealthiest schools in the country.
Was it motivating or was it frustrating?
My mom couldn't afford lunch money or all these other things, but I would go down to the store, buy some candy. I take that candy to school. I would sell it because you can't have candy at school. Now I can have my own money to pay for my lunch and to do all these other things. I had read a couple of books. Groundswell, Winning in a World Transformed by Social Technologies. That book changed my world. That really got me thinking, I want to do something with a digital technology. I want to do something with social media, and I want to do something with analytics. And so we formed my company ManoByte, Marketing Analytics Networking Online.
The advances in AI started to provide you and your firm with the opportunity to introduce that as a tool to your clients as well.
The game has changed. The old playbooks don't work anymore. People are in for a rude awakening. AI, the way that we know it today, is doing things to businesses that they don't know are happening.
Are we headed for 25% unemployment in the US in the next 18 months? My guest today, Kevin Dean, thinks so. Curious to know why or what we could do to start preparing? Listen to my conversation with Kevin, who's the CEO of ManoByte, which is an artificial intelligence consulting firm for businesses that has been implementing AI at companies for over 10 years. He's also a globally recognized leader in artificial intelligence and has some unbelievable predictions about where we're headed. You guys are going to love this one.
Boundary Breakers is brought to you by Carter and Clark.
Tell us a little bit about your background, sort of early life and where you grew up.
Yeah. So I am a single child, raised in a single parent household. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, dirt poor in the projects of Lexington, Kentucky. My mom, she, single mom, she was challenged trying to provide for a young child on her own. At the same time, my mom had a lot of mental health issues. And this was during a time when mental health issues weren't as understood as they are today. So they just added on another layer of complexity. So that's kind of where I grew up and where I was raised. And one of the things that was interesting, though, that kind of shaped and formed who I am and what I became, is grew up in the projects in Lexington, Kentucky, dirt poor. However, I was at the time what they call bused to a school that was probably one of the wealthiest schools in the country. So if you're familiar with Lexington, Kentucky is one of the most wealthiest areas in the world in a little spot just because of all the multi-billionaires who have always lived there because of horse racing, right? And so here I am, dirt poor, getting bused to one of the most wealthiest schools in the area. Just to give you just a background, at my high school, the kids would all drive Corvettes, brand new Mustangs at the time, Porsches. Those are the types of cars. That was the school that I got sent in. That wasn't the life that I lived day to day, but that was the environment that I grew up around, those type of people. So it was an interesting dichotomy that allowed me to see lots of things from different perspectives.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and I'm curious. It seems like that was an impactful or formative experience. What was going through your mind at that point? Was it like, wait a minute, how did these people have all this, but I don't? Or was it motivating, or was it frustrating? Or
yeah, so it was this interesting, two different worlds, right? And what was very interesting about having two different worlds is you see lots of different things. And obviously as a young kid, no kid wants to stand out as being different, even though you know that you are. So one of the things that I would do is, my mom couldn't afford, right, lunch money or all these other things. And so what I would do, because I didn't want to, have to put out this free lunch card they had at the time. Um, what I actually would do is I would get, a little bit of money here and there, just very little. But I would go down to the store, buy some candy. I take that candy to school. I would sell it because you can't
Oh,
have
wow.
candy at school, right? So I would sell the candy, get money, and now I can have my own money to pay for my lunch and to do all these other things that made me feel like I didn't stand out as much as I did. And so yeah,
First taste of entrepreneurship.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was what I was going to ask was, did you know from an early age, and were you driven at an early age? Because especially with that experience, right? I mean, I could see how that in some people that would light a fire, right? Like, oh wow, I didn't even know that this stuff was possible, and I want that, and so I'm going to work hard. Or you know, may have sort of a negative impact. When did you know that you were going to do, or you wanted to really do something special?
I don't know if I knew I wanted to do something quote unquote special. I didn't really know what special was, right? And I also have learned over the years that the environments that you are in can have multiple impacts on you. But like I just knew like from a very early age, like just knew I had to take care of myself, right? That was just an early on thing that I learned super young. You got to take care of yourself. But I don't know what it was that made me go to the left when others went to the right. Um, that to this day, I really couldn't tell you what made the difference between me and others. Because I wasn't the only, person on that bus that went to that school from our area for the projects. So I don't know what made the difference. And what's interesting as I look back today, I look at some of the people who I went to school with who had a different background than I did, and they had almost things handed to them. And like we're at totally different places where if you would have tried to guess back then who would be in which seat, right, you wouldn't have bet on me, right? And so I don't really know what the difference was, but as far as but who I am at the core today was most definitely who I was at the core way back then as a young person. But I don't know why I am that way or but yeah, always been this person.
Well, look, that's sort of an unfair question, right? I mean, it's sort of like, what's the secret to life? I mean,
Yeah.
certainly not my intention, but the reason I ask is because I've been very fortunate to be able to talk to a lot of people on this platform, and I'm always fascinated with, commonalities, or you know, you got like this whole bunch of successful entrepreneurs, right? Like what's are there certain things that are in common between all of them? And I will say that I have yet to really speak to anybody that has gotten to your level that doesn't have a sort of insatiable desire to do something special, right? And I hesitate to use the word success because that's defined in so many different ways, right? But there's in folks that I've spoken with in the past that have succeeded to the level that you have, there always seems to be some type of deep inside somewhere, some type of inert desire to really to change things. And I know from an early age, you were fascinated with technology. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. What's interesting, one of my favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell. And in Malcolm's book, Outliers, he talks about, inflection points of time and different elements that come together that form who individuals were. And it's interesting that I just happened to fall into one of those inflection points where technology just began to do some really cool things, right? And so, early on, for some way or another, I just got fascinated with computers. I was a geek always, right? I never really didn't play sports. I mean, I played not like at the school level, but always been into technology, right? Always that little hustle piece in me, but also like I've always wanted to like, how do I get things done easier, quicker? And so it's just one of those things where it's just like it just came natural to me just because I've always been at these inflection points where, oh yeah, you, I was exposed to, Commodore 64, like in, early
Right.
on. And then from there, just playing around. And just every time there was a different part of my life, I would be connected to technology in a way that I'm like, hey, how can I use this to get more done quicker, easier, right? To accomplish what I want to do in life. So it's just been really fascinating how at different points of my life, technology and its various forms have been there. And I've been able to be part of the early adopter phase of almost every cool phase of technology.
Yeah, that's so cool. That is so cool. All right, so after you graduate high school, what about early career? Take us to the point, 2007, before you started your own business, and then we'll jump into that. But I'm just curious, sort of like an idea of the path that led you to start your own business.
Interesting was this right out of school, um, computer information science, got a job with Fortune 500 company. Um, first, I mean, which is kind of interesting how that even happened, but right out of school, get a job with Eaton Corporation, their large corporation. And it's funny because at the time, .NET was Microsoft.NET was just coming out. Nobody knew it. I'm like, oh, again, this is one of those like I'm there at this early phase, and so like I was able to start like using .NET to manage uh, their engineering process. So process engineering type applications that we developed early on from an automation standpoint. And so that was really cool. That first little tip and edge into those new technologies. But then after that, like I got recruited by another Fortune 500 company because of my development skills. And I've always had this sales type of thing, during between high school, college, the working type phases. Um, I did a lot of work in sales, right? Worked at the malls, right? All those types of things where you learn people. So I was a people person, knew how to sell and new technology. Put those things together, and that's like powerful. Like people like, oh, technology, and you can speak well in front of people, and you understand people's psyche. Like those three things are powerful combinations. So I just like quickly uh, rose through the corporate ranks. When I went and worked for Stanley Works, another Fortune 500 company, I'm in front of the CEO pitching this new technology stuff, right? But that life was just, man, it's a different world, right? It's a different world. And I'm always driven to be like solutions focused. I want to have solutions, and I'm not a chess player, right? I'm a solutions guy, not a chess guy. And so that just like drained me. So one day I'm in Hawaii scuba diving, one of my other loves. I'm like, you know what? I'm just done. I'm done with this corporate world. I just want to go out and solve problems. And so came back from Hawaii, said, peace.
Now, I love it. I got to tell you, so that description, you're not a the way that you just described sort of the headache and the frustration of working in a big company is the best way I've ever heard it described. The sort of debilitating bureaucracy and red tape, hurry up and wait. And, that's got to go through the committee, and then some other committee's got to decide if that committee is going to, when they're going to meet or whatever. I hear you for sure because I'm in the exact same way. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, can we just do this? Um, so you come back from Hawaii, said peace out, and did you know what you were going to do? Did you have things planned out? Did you have a business plan, or were you just confident that you would figure it out?
So interestingly enough, on the plane, um, I'd read a couple of books. One of the books was by this lady who was I figure one of my early inspirations, Denise Schiffman, and she wrote a book about, you know, this was when social media was really starting to kick off, right? Um, she wrote this great book that like I read on the plane, like, oh man, this is great. Um, and so I love that book, and that like kind of got me moving in this world of the social media world, right? Oh, like, oh, I should be thinking about social media and how does and at the time I wanted to think about social media from a work from a, at that time people weren't thinking about it this way, but how do you use technology to understand what you should be doing on social media, how you should be selling, how you should be measuring. And this was before there were any measurement tools or anything like that. But that I knew that that was kind of um, what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. So that was kind of one of the books that I read on the plane. And then there was another book that I read, and it was Groundswell was the name of the book. So Groundswell, Winning in a World Transformed by Social Technologies by Josh Bernoff and Charlene Lee. So two that book also changed my world, right? And they talked about social technographics and how people act different ways online. And so those two books I read on the plane that really got me thinking, oh, you know what? I want to do something with digital technology. I want to do something with social media, and I want to do something with analytics, right? And so when we formed my company ManoByte, a mano is the Hawaiian word for shark, because that's where I was when I was forming the company. Shark, and the last word bite, so shark bite. Um, but it also had a double entendre at the time because I'm also a major Scrabble nerd. And so the MANO stood for at the time, which we've removed from the name, Marketing Analytics Networking Online. So that was really kind of where I thought that I wanted to play is in this space of technology, sales and marketing, and using technology to really figure out what people need. So that's what we got there.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So take us back to that point, right? So you start ManoByte. How'd you get your first customer? Did you know where to start? I mean, was it a grind?
When I started the company, like I'm like, hey, tell my wife, you know what? Um, we've got a ton of money set aside from 401k. We had savings, right? Like we're going to be good. Like I can take this money. We can go start this company, do some great things. We'll be fine. I'll just go out and pound the pavement and make some things happen. But everybody knows what happens in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Like, and we lived in Michigan, right? The epicenter of it all, right? And so, I'm starting a business at the worst time for anybody to try to start a business, right? Doing one of the biggest recessions that we've had in a long time. Like, so boom, rug is getting pulled out from underneath you from day one. But my wife is amazing, right? She didn't say, you're an idiot. I'm out of here. You're out of here. Go back on another job, whatever. She's like, hey, we'll just write it out. We ended up losing our house, right? It was just like one of those rough times, but we just kind of like pushed through. I think, that was just a drive. Like, I don't know how to quit. I don't know how to stop, right? I just don't have an off button. So we just kept pushing through. And at the time, what I would do is I would just go out and speak. I'm like, hey, this is what's happening. This is how you can use social media. This is, and from that speaking, engagement, people just began to listen in the area. And, over time, just one customer at a time began to pay off. Right. So,
Yeah.
wow.
Golly. So you were committed. And, and I asked that question, and it's a very sort of basic type question, but there are so many people as you well know, that dream about doing what you did, right? They're working in their 9 to 5 grind and dream when they're off about when they're going to start their business. They know what they're going to do, but fear most often keeps people, fear of the unknown, and fear of, am I going to be successful or what's going to happen, prevents a lot of people from doing it. And there's a lot of regret. And, I'm asked all the time about, yeah, but what about the bridge? Like I've got this life and I have these bills and I get paid. How am I supposed to work the bridge to get to from where I am now to being an entrepreneur without going down a huge rabbit hole? Sometimes I will tell people, if I'm close enough to them, that if you ask that question, that might be your answer, right? If you don't know for sure that that's what you want to do, then maybe you shouldn't. And the story that you just told is perfect support for that, because it sounds to me like nothing was going to stop you, even losing your own home. You were going to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Entrepreneurs, I don't know. I've heard this. I think you were born an entrepreneur. I think it's in your blood. Like it's a certain type of person. It's a certain type of person. And most people are not that person, because you have to be able to take the bruises, to take the hits. It's like you either can or you can't, right? It's something that's inside of you, right? Because I've watched so many. So I'll tell you, there's this great series that that our family has watched. It's talking about the men who built America, and it's a series that documents some of these icons, right? Henry Ford, Carnegie, like all these people who built things that really drive this country today still. And the thing that's interesting, and I'll even throw in here, not documented, I think Mr. Trump in 2008, like everybody, there is not a clean road for entrepreneurs. There just isn't. Everyone takes major hits. Like every single entrepreneur who started from zero or not, like they've been at the brink of, this is it. Like there's no place to go. Like, and it's funny, like it's a reoccurring theme, right? And so like you have to have this, if there's a brick wall, I'm going to find a way to get through it, right? One way or another, I'm going to the other side, and I may, get across, scarred, bruised, but you're going across to the other side, right? It just doesn't matter. And that's something that, I don't know where I got it from, but, I've seen that to be a common thread is it doesn't matter. Like you've got to be over there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's an admirable quality. Not only does not everyone have it, but I think very few people really, really do have it. So, hearing about the story, like of what it takes and everything you have to go through to get there I think that's why it's so interesting, right? Is because it is something that is difficult for a lot of people to conceive of. How could you possibly do that? But so you pushed through, yeah, certainly the greatest economic collapse that, God willing, we ever experience in our lifetime.
Yeah,
maybe
we'll see another one here soon.
Well,
Here soon, another one's coming.
I want to hear all about that. So early on, if I understand correctly, your passion and your focus at your business is sort of the intersection of people and technology, and how to leverage technology to be more efficient and effective and deliver more value.
Yep.
And early on, that was via a lot of social media, and how to use social media in ways that would benefit the business, that your client's business. And eventually, correct me if I'm wrong, but eventually it morphed, or it didn't morph. Eventually, AI, the advances in AI started to provide you and your firm with the opportunity to introduce that as a tool to your clients as well. Is that a fair way to?
Yeah.
How about you tell us instead of
Yeah.
me telling you?
Yeah. So what's interesting is this. When I started the company, the focus that customers that we were going after was definitely marketing. And we were going to use technology to help marketers be more successful. And at the time, I'm going to say this for the record on your show, 2008, right? Um, we were talking about natural language processing, which is a form of AI back then. And how do you use it? AI has been around for a long time, right? AI has been around for a long time. The technology has been around for a long time. So our company has been using AI in its various forms since our inception, right? So we have always been an AI company at the core of what we do, right? There's a blog post that I wrote more than 10 years ago that describes how natural language processing works and why we should be using it, right? Um, so it's been around for a long time. Has it changed over the past 3 years? 100%. And the way that our company has changed is as technology has changed, we would say, oh, let's use the technology that's out today to really just get away from marketing, but to help businesses as a whole to be better, right? We call it moving at the speed of your ambition, right? So we want companies to be able to move fast, right? As fast as they want to, as fast as they need to, without the fear of change, outdated processes, systems that don't work. And technology gives you the ability to do that. Specifically, automation and AI give you that ability. And we've always been automators, integrators, and into the AI world. Now, what we can do now is so much better than what we were doing, what I learned in school. I studied this stuff in school, right? So way different, much more power, but yeah, we've always been doing this.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm going to go back and try to find that blog post because natural language processing back in 2000 and even 5 years ago certainly wasn't mainstream. So, would it be fair to say that the focus that or the value that you guys provide your clients now is certainly not just limited to marketing, right? But now
we've not done marketing for a long time.
So, what is if you could sort of dream up the ideal scenario or the ideal sort of client or potential client for your company, could you paint that picture for us? I think that will help sort of give the audience the general understanding of exactly sort of what your business does and the value that you guys provide.
Yeah, so we help growth stalled companies, right? Companies who are at this point where they've grown, they've gotten to a certain point, they've had success, they've seen success, but now they're stalled because now they feel like they're weighted down with too much tech debt, too much bureaucracy, too many processes that nobody knows about. There's so many underlying things that have grown in their business over time to get them to that point where they are. But now, in order to get to a 10x world, they've got to rethink how they do business, and they've got to streamline it, and they've got to automate it. Right? Those are the companies that we help to leverage AI to really get to that next level that where they feel like they're stalled out. Like we're just can't break through. That's who we help.
Yes, I imagine that the list of potential clients is long.
Yeah.
Those of us that are fellow entrepreneurs or in the business world, I mean, that's probably more common than not.
And let me tell you, kind of, I want to get into this world where we are today. I think this is an important conversation. The game has changed. The old playbooks that don't work anymore, and people are in for rude awakenings coming up. And AI, the way that we know it today, is doing things to businesses that they don't know are happening, right? So there's been several studies that say the next round of billion-dollar companies will be run by individuals who have less than 10 people in their organization. So billion-dollar companies, being run with 10 people or less, right? Because what I'm gonna use a word that some of the audience may know, most are probably unaware of truly what it means, and it's a little different from AI, but we're gonna talk about agentic AI. And agentic AI is the ability to have AI or technology agents or digital coworkers autonomously do business functions that you would normally have an employee do on their own, right? And that's where we are today. And that's what we do. We help companies employ digital workers to really break through and get to the next level. And what's happening, I mean, people are seeing the first tier of it where all the tech companies are laying off thousands of people. It's because of agentic AI. And that is quickly running through the entire world, right? I think there are a lot of mid-sized companies who are adopting quickly, and it's the companies that are in that middle phase who, they're not small, they're not mid, they're not enterprise companies. Like they're the ones who are going to be majorly disrupted big time.
So yeah, so tell us a little bit more about that. So, the heavily impacting, like customer service, call center type workers, financial services. What are you seeing? Every knowledge worker.
Every knowledge worker. Every knowledge worker. Every knowledge worker. So reports say, statistics show and prove that we're looking at, and I don't know this to be the fact. It could be somewhere north or south, but imagine a 25% unemployment rate because that many jobs have gone away.
It's hard to, and you foreshadowed. I mean, I said something really silly earlier, saying hopefully we never experience another, downturn like
it's
this.
Coming. It's coming. So
what do you see? Tell us what you envision.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you not just what I see, but what we're doing. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
This is like,
fair.
like you can have people who say, "Oh, I read this," and it's funny because everybody wants to talk about AI and what it's doing and how it works and all this other stuff. And so, we'll be with a group of our friends and I just sit there and I'm quiet because they're saying all this stuff about what AI can and can't do and what's going to happen. And I'm just sitting there with my mouth shut, right? Because like every single day, like we're building for companies solutions that are eliminating jobs.
So you're on the inside. So that's in the peanut gallery.
Yeah.
Want to know from the inside what's happening.
Any knowledge worker is replaceable today, right? Today. So we're building systems that will, if anybody has to be on a computer entering something, and that's what they spend the most of their time doing, entering something on a computer, that job is gone. That job is gone, right? AI agents can learn, they can think, they can reason, they can perceive, they know their environment, and they know what to do better than a human does. Better than a human does. And they have the ability to be able to observe, learn what their job is, figure out, okay, this is my job, this is what I have to do, these are my parameters, I know what I'm here for, and go do it all day, every day. Like we're literally building systems, AI agents that do any job from sales, marketing, operations, legal, finance, like any job they know, right? They can do it, right? That's what we build for companies, and that's what we're building. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about a silver bullet, quote unquote AGI that can just go and do everything all at once. It doesn't really work that way. That's movie type stuff. But you can train an AI agent to do anybody's job. But we help people to think of it this way. If you were going to go hire someone for a role within your company, what do? You get a job description. You say, hey, I want this person to do these things. So you put out that job description. You got to do the same thing for AI agents. You got to have a job description to say, this is what I want this agent to do. Once you have that agent job description, the next thing that you do is you say, hey, I found somebody that I want to bring into my organization. You got to onboard them. Onboarding means that you say, hey, here's our company. Here's the policies. Here's the rules, regulations. Here's how you do your job. And you go through and you show it how to do its job. You do that with any person. You do the same thing with an AI agent. Then once you've given them that onboarding thing, you monitor. You say, hey, all right, go do this. And you say, yep, you did this right, you did this wrong. And you give them that feedback. You train them. You give them a job performance. You do the same thing with AI agents. That process is what we're helping companies do. And what it's doing is it eliminates the need for a human worker to do most jobs.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So the perception, I mean, I'm a CEO and run a private equity backed company, and
Yep.
at least I can tell you my perception, right? And I don't think that it is correct. I think I'm about as ignorant as they come. I mean, trying to learn more, but the perception is that look, I mean, that's certainly foreseeable in the very, very, very near future. But the perception is that there's still limitations and that it's not quite good enough to be able to do any job. And I think that's where people like me get it wrong.
Let me tell you why it's wrong. That's what I think that's what you're getting at is why is that perception wrong, right? And it's wrong because what people are hearing, what people are being told, and how people are trying to go about it is wrong, right? And so people think that AI is this silver bullet where I can have AI do everything. I can say, ChatGPT, do my job. It doesn't work that way. Like that process that I kind of conceptually talked about are the real steps that you have to take. You've got to know first, and this is the biggest problem. MIT's report 95% of all AI implementations fail. Yes, it's not the technology that's failing. It's the business and their processes that are failing AI. As soon as people get in their minds that this is not like deploying your ERP, your CRM, it's not like deploying your business systems. You have to think of it as I'm hiring an employee. There just happen to be a digital piece of technology. And you treat that piece of technology like you treat that human. You give them a job description. You show them how to do that job, and you give them feedback on a regular basis, and you monitor and perform them. Like you don't go, it's not like the Senate when you set up your CRM, you do your initial implementation and you're done. You pay people. With your employees that work in your company, you check in with them daily, weekly, right? The same thing with AI agents, true AI agents. It's not a piece of software. And that's where people are getting it wrong, right? And so when you approach these technology pieces out there and you explicitly tell them what to do and you show them how to do their job, then they're going to do it, right? And people are being, one, sold the wrong things. Two, they don't know the right process. So let me just touch on this. I'm passionate about this. I'm excited to talk about it.
I love it.
AGI. Oh my goodness. AGI, right? People are, I get emails every day about, right, AGI is going to be here. We're going to be in the Senate state and all these other crazy things. Recently, Forrester gave a definition of AGI as AI agents that can create their own tools, right? So you have an AI agent who can say, I need to do this thing over here. I'm going to build a tool to help me do this thing that I was described to do as a job, right? And so that process of understanding what agents need, right? Let me just back up. An AI agent needs several things. They need to have a description of what it's supposed to do. They have to have knowledge, right? They have to have tools, and they need access to systems, right? And if it has those things, then it can go out and do what it needs to do. Well, we're at a point, we see it, we're building it, where AI agents can, on a small level, build their own tools if they're told you can build this tool and here's what you need to do and build it. So there are literally programs that exist that are doing this right now. It says, oh, I'm not going to name any of the programs, but there are tools that are out there that exist today on the marketplace that will go out and you just tell it, hey, I want this piece of software, build it for me. It will go and build it. And so we're building AI agents to say, hey, go use this software and tell it what you want to build. And then take what it builds and you use it, right? You've got to tell it to do those things, but it's there. It can do it, right? It's there. So people are hearing about vibe coding, where a non-developer can go out and say, hey, build this for me. If an AI agent can come up with a plan, all you have to do is give it access to a vibe coding tool that says, hey, you have the ability to go and ask this vibe coding tool, go tell that vibe coding tool what you need.
Mm.
That exists today, right? The holdback is this. Not everybody understands the processes and how this all works. People are still stuck in the software SaaS model. And AI is not that model. Now, as soon as everybody gets their head out of, oh, this is the old model, that's not how you deploy AI in your organization. The SaaS model is not the AI model, the agentic model, rather.
Yeah. And it seems to me, at least in my case, that the limitation to this is going to be sort of the extent to which people have their imagination. Like, if it's an imagination thing, right? Like, that's really, or a conception, right? That's really difficult to get. For example, you mentioned a $10 billion company or $1 billion company with 10 employees, right?
Yep.
My very first thought out of my mind is, okay, well, all of this makes sense. I can wrap my mind around it, but what do those 10 employees do, and why do you need 10 if AI could really take? Why couldn't an AI be the sole entrepreneur, basically? But so
yeah. So those are great questions, right? And again, it comes back to this: humans have to tell it what to do, and goals change, processes changed. There's a lot of things where humans are needed. And the other thing, and a lot of these companies, you need someone to be monitoring your AI agents. You need testers. AI does hallucinate, although a lot of the hallucination comes from misinformation. But AI does make things up, right? It does hallucinate. You need people to be monitoring those types of things. And there's always going to be a need for people to be able to have those strategic one-on-one relationships with people, right? So, like you were saying, the imagination, like all of that stuff is there. But there's a lot that AI can do without humans, right?
so a business that is stuck, right? That can't really can't break through to that next, they're plateaued. Do they have to, in order to work with you and your company, do they have to know, all right, this is what here's what we want to do with AI, but we don't know how to do it. Can you do it? Or do you go through a process of discovery to help open the imagination and mind of the company to even know what's possible to begin with?
I think the other problem or misnomer is people are trying to think what they need to do with AI. That's the wrong question. The question is, what do I want to do with my business? What am I trying to achieve? Right? Now, and sometimes, right, so the answer to your question is yes, people can come to us. We actually take people through a 3-hour workshop before they can begin anything else with us. because we've got to get people at least thinking the right way, right? So it takes 3 hours for us to kind of like say, okay, let's get you thinking about how you need to think. Once you're done with that 3 hour workshop, we then take you through a process of building out your roadmap. We use what are called agent skill cards. There's a website, agentskillcard.com, that we built that you can go out and say, hey, these are the types of agents that I want. In this app, Agent Skill Card, you can just talk to it and say, here's my business problem. Tell me your business problem. This is what I'm trying to solve for. And then it will help create for you an ideal agent to solve one of the problems, right? So in your business, like if you have like this is what I want to do, like I want to build a rocket ship. Um, well, you're going to need multiple people to help you build that rocket ship. You're going to need multiple AI agents to help you build that rocket ship, right? One of the problems is that it's not just one, it's multiples, right? You think about the roles that you would normally have in your business, you're still going to have most of those roles. The difference is you have agents working with other agents to perform those different roles. Why do we have to have multiple agents and not one? Get asked that question all the time. Because specialization is smarter and faster than general, right? I may know everything, but if I'm a specialist, why do we hire specialists when we go? A doctor is a doctor, right? No, we want a specialist, right? I want someone working on my knee. I want someone working on
Yeah.
my elbow, right? So you need specialized agents to do specialized things, and they can do it fast and they can do it right. If you give an AI agent lots of knowledge, then what do you get? You get hallucinations because it's putting all this stuff and it loses context, right? But you have a specialized agent. This is my role. I know how to do this really well. I can think about it. I can perceive. Man, that specialized agent knows that. And then he passes it off to another agent that specialized in this thing. Man, he's great. He knows that. And it goes on and on. So let's say that a company, that $1 billion company with 10 people, they'll probably have, 50 different agents, right? Connected to perform those processes. You still have to have the puzzle pieces.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Are there any industries or types of businesses that you've thought about that couldn't significantly benefit from agentic AI?
Oh man. So I, I think I'm going to go out of the fact zone, right? So now you're pulling me out of the fact zone into right speculating zone. Um, I'm excited with what's happening with the world of robotics because I don't think that it's just knowledge workers. I think knowledge workers are first, but other workers are not far behind. Okay, so we paint this picture of lots of people who are going to be losing their jobs to technology. What's next is always the next question. It's like, what's next? I think what's going to happen is there is going to be a rough couple of years. Don't know how many years those years are going to be, but there's going to be a rough couple of years because the rate of change is coming faster than the rate of where do I go next? And you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? And so things are moving so fast that time where people won't have jobs, it's going to be it's going to be there, but it's going to be short while we recalibrate and we come up with new things that we need humans to be doing, right? And there's going to be new things, right? Who knew, right, when electricity came, right, what farmers would be doing, right? No one would have thought about that. Was there a tough time between that transition? Sure there was. Is there going to be another tough time? Sure it is. But is there going to be something else? 100%, right? And why? Because I believe that the human brain is actually far better than any technology that's out there. However, like it's a muscle and you got to use it and it has to be used in different ways. Like my daughter's 12 years old and she's had an Alexa in her room since the day she was born, right? And so she interacts with that Alexa all day every day, right? And she always has, right? Right. When she was little, she was a little girl, she would have it read her a story. She would have it play her a song, right? She would ask it questions, right? And so the way that she looks at things is completely different. Like AI is just a part of her world, right? It's like she doesn't like she's not thinking about, oh man, my life is going to be horrible when I grow up. She's like using these tools already to think about her future and plan the things out. And the things that she comes up with, right, are going to be amazing, right? It's just some of us who are, you know, we're in that in between phase. There'll be an in between phase, but it's definitely coming, right? And I think when we think about it, we all want that. We all want to get to the other side. Everybody wants to, right?
So I love the comment that you made about um, your daughter. I also have a 12-year-old. He's my oldest, and we were actually this past weekend. I was driving. We were in the car together, and we live in Atlanta, and there's a
Oh
bunch
yeah.
of Waymo cars driving around, right? And the driverless vehicles, and one
Mhm.
passed us, and I said, God, that's still so strange to me. And my 12-year-old, it's like, why? And I said, because there's nobody driving that car. It's just like there's nobody driving it. It's just weird. And he's like, so what? Why is that? That's not weird. And it occurred to me in that moment, gosh, things are going to be so much different for that generation. And all of the experiences we have are only going to serve as limiting factors, given all the stuff that's upcoming. But what I'm really curious to ask you is, do you believe in or subscribe to this sort of like theory, like abundance theory, where if you think about the world as sort of just like where resources are allocated, and some people are able to collect more resources than others, but with the introduction of AI, that there will be basically unlimited resources, and so no one will have to work, and there won't be this sort of rich. What do you think is after the transition?
Man, that's a great question. That's a deep question, and it's a question that could be like 7 shows in and of itself. Uh,
Oh yeah,
but here's what I one. I don't believe that there's going to be this abundance where people just don't have to work. Number one, let's just be honest. There's greed, right?
yeah,
And that ain't ever going away, right? Not
yeah.
on this side, right? And so somebody's always going to want more than the other person, right? There's always going to be people who aren't motivated to do anything, and therefore, you're always going to have the poor, right? You're always gonna have the poor. And so I don't believe that there's going to be this. Oh, everybody just gets to sit around and sit mai tais and no, like I don't. That's just not realistic. And the people who are saying that, they're the ones who are out grabbing trillions, right? And why are you grabbing trillions if everybody's going to be sitting around, right? Right. So I don't believe that. I and it's unfortunate that's going to be the way that things are today, right? So I don't think that is the outcome of I don't, and I just don't know what it's going to be, but I don't believe that that's it.
So more of like, we used to have tellers at the bank, and we now have ATMs. So you can now go to a fast food restaurant and sort of type your order at the kiosk. I mean, but that doesn't mean that nobody has to work. It's just different tasks,
Just
different jobs,
different.
different roles.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of different things. A lot of different things.
Well, so and this is the last question, I promise. But the people that are motivated, that are open minded, that want to be sort of part of this revolution, what are those people doing to sort of stay on the front side of this, as opposed to just being observers that kind of watch it and lose their job?
Yeah. So what's happening right now is the people who want to be on the positive side of the future are learning, they're transforming. And right now, everybody should be have a frugality mindset while we go through this transition, right? Like if you knew that 2008 was coming and you needed to have cash set aside for a couple of years, you better have it set aside. I think right now people need to be, one, you can't just sit back and do nothing. You're going to end up on the wrong side. You have to be planning for the future, planning for this transitional period, right? So get smart about everything that you do.
I love it. I love it. Any guesses on time frame for when we're, sort of be at the peak of this crazy unemployment transition?
Sooner than I would guess, and I'm guessing sooner than most of your listening audience is thinking.
So if somebody came to you and said, "Look, you I'm not going to let you not answer. You have to guess, and the closer you are to correct, the better the rest of your life will be," and then what would that guess be?
18 months.
I love it. Interesting. For whatever it's worth. I had been trying to wrap my mind around the fact, the speed of all of this, right? Because unlike anything else in history, it's not going to be linear. It's going to be exponential because it learns from itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it improves on itself, right? It isn't like, a microchip that has to wait for the next breakthrough. But I don't know, and I can think that far, right? But then I don't, that's where sort of I get to the limits of like, well, okay, that means fast, but what does that really mean? And it seems to me that whatever's going to happen is going to be a surprise, right? Because it always is. All these things are. And I think that somebody may go back to this podcast one day and say, man, Kevin Dean called it back in 2025. Or maybe 18 months from now, somebody will be going back to look at it and say, why didn't we listen?
Yeah.
Well, so if businesses want to get in touch with you and your business and learn more about it and understand whether there's a way to work together, where should we point them?
My company's website is ManoByte.com, but you can also find me on my personal website, kevinjdean.com. So I'm sure you'll post the links to those two websites in the show notes.
We absolutely will. kevinjdean.com. Fantastic. Well, Kevin, I know you got to jump. I wish we had 3 or 4 hours because you are fascinating. And obviously, like I said, we're just in the peanut gallery. You're living it. And so I'd give anything to just pick your brain for.
It's fun time.
Longer.
I'm telling you, I've been having man, it's been a lot of fun lately, doing some really fun things.
Don't forget, everybody, you can find Boundary Breakers in a lot of places. You can watch our episodes on the Boundary Breakers YouTube channel, or you can listen to each podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of the other major podcasting platforms. Thanks for listening.